All right, fight fans, get ready for a deep dive into a boxing match that's got everyone talking.
This one's really shaking things up.
I mean, seriously, imagine explaining this fight to someone who just woke up from a 20-year coma.
Talk about a reality check.
We've got Jake Paul, the YouTuber turned boxer,
At 27 years old,
stepping into the ring.
with the one and only Mike Tyson.
Iron Mike.
At 58 years old.
That's a clash of generations, a collision of styles.
And it's got the whole boxing world buzzing, for better or worse.
We're going to break down everything's hype, the controversy.
And get to the heart of what this fight really means for boxing today.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll know not just what happened in the ring,
But what this fight says about boxing today.
celebrity culture.
And the power of social media.
So buckle up.
Let's get ready to rumble!
First things first, let's talk about Jake Paul.
The problem child.
This guy went from making goofy YouTube videos to knocking out former NBA and MMA stars.
He's 10-1 as a pro.
With 6 knockouts,
He's beaten guys like Ben Askren,
Tyron Woodley, twice.
even former NBA slam dunk champion Nate Robinson.
It's been a wild ride.
Absolutely, and he's not just picking easy targets.
Yeah, his opponent choices haven't been random at all,
He's picking guys who generate massive publicity.
even if they aren't top-tier boxers.
Exactly. He understands the power of spectacle
Knows how to build a narrative.
that keeps fans engaged.
And his online persona, let's just say it's polarizing.
Love him or hate him.
You can't deny his business savvy.
And you can't deny his wins.
He's proven he can fight.
Those knockouts aren't flukes.
He's got real power.
Definitely. But the Tommy Fury fight was a turning point.
His only loss.
It showed he's still got room for improvement.
Especially when facing a skilled, experienced boxer.
Fury comes from a boxing family.
And he's a legitimate boxer himself.
It was a split decision loss for Paul.
So, close fight.
But it exposed some weaknesses.
A reality check.
But let's not forget, he did score a knockdown against Fury,
True.
so he's not to be underestimated.
Okay, now let's shift gears.
To the legend in the other corner,
Mike Tyson,
Iron Mike,
the youngest heavyweight champion in history.
known for his ferocious knockouts.
And that larger-than-life personality.
A true icon of the sport.
Seeing him back in the ring.
It's got to be thrilling for longtime fans.
It's amazing to think his last pro fight was way back in 2003.
Against Kevin McBride,
But have you seen his training videos?
the man is still in incredible shape.
It's clear he's been putting in the work.
He's looking sharp.
Plus, he held his own against Roy Jones Jr.
Another boxing legend.
in that 2020 exhibition.
It was a draw.
But Tyson definitely showed flashes of his old brilliance.
The nostalgia factor is off the charts with this fight.
Who wouldn't want to see Iron Mike back in action?
But let's be real, there are some concerns.
At 58, is this really a good idea?
Age catches up to everyone.
Even the greats.
And the wear and tear on Tyson's body over the years.
It's undeniable.
You can't ignore that.
All right, so we've got a young, hungry social media star on the rise.
Facing off against a boxing legend.
Who's making an improbable comeback?
The stage is set for fireworks.
But not everyone's thrilled about this matchup.
This fight has divided the boxing world.
Big time.
We've got some big names calling it a farce.
Eddie Hearn.
A top boxing promoter
Said it's sad.
said Tyson is just in it for the money.
But then you have guys like Anthony Joshua
Former heavyweight champ,
saying it's good for the sport.
bringing attention to boxing.
So who's right?
It's complicated.
There's a significant age gap.
Paul's background isn't traditional boxing.
And some see this as a blurring of lines.
Between entertainment and legitimate sport.
A valid concern.
The potential for a one-sided fight is there.
With Tyson potentially getting seriously hurt.
There are ethical implications we can't ignore.
It's a lot to unpack.
We've got a lot to discuss.
Let's dive deeper into the controversy.
And explore what's really at stake.
Right after this quick break.
We'll be right back. That was a wild first round. I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to process everything we've learned about these fighters and what led them to this moment.
This fight really is like a real-life clash of the titans. Each fighter represents a different era of combat sports and a different approach to fame and success. Before we get into the fight itself, let's talk more about Jake Paul's journey. How has he managed to make such a huge impact on the world of boxing?
He didn't start out in the ring. We know that Jake Paul started out as a YouTuber creating comedic videos and pranks with his brother, Logan. What's interesting is that he transitioned to boxing through these exhibition matches that were initially seen as pure entertainment.
Yeah, I remember those early fights. People thought it was a joke, a bunch of YouTubers messing around in the ring. But then Paul started training seriously and taking on tougher opponents, and suddenly everyone was paying attention. What was the turning point?
He took it seriously. He dedicated himself to the sport, hired top-tier trainers, and developed a legitimate boxing style. He wasn't just relying on his social media fame, he was putting in the work to become a credible fighter.
And his confidence grew with each win. He started calling out bigger names, challenging established fighters, and using his platform to promote himself and his fights.
Hmm.
It was a masterclass in self-promotion.
He understood the power of storytelling. He knew how to create narratives that captivated audiences and made people want to see him fight, whether they loved him or hated him. He turned himself into a must-see attraction, and that's what ultimately led him to this fight with Mike Tyson.
Speaking of Mike Tyson, he's a boxing icon, a legend who rose from poverty to become the youngest heavyweight champion in history, only to fall from grace and then make a series of comebacks. His story's like something out of a movie.
It's a story of incredible talent, raw power, and personal demons. Tyson was a force of nature in the ring, known for his ferocious knockouts and intimidating presence outside the ring, though he struggled with legal issues, substance abuse, and personal tragedies.
Even with all the ups and downs, his legacy as one of the greatest boxers of all time remains intact. That's what makes this fight with Jake Paul so intriguing. It's a clash of eras, a collision between the old guard and the new wave of boxing.
It's a test of Tyson's legacy and a chance for Paul to prove that he's more than just a social media phenomenon.
Going into the fight, we knew that Paul was the favorite. Some people thought this could be a dangerous mismatch given the age difference, and Tyson's long layoff from professional boxing was that a valid concern.
The concern was definitely valid. Tyson, despite being in seemingly good shape, is 58 years old, and his last professional fight was almost 2 decades ago.
Not to mention the fact that he had some health issues earlier this year that caused the fight to be postponed.
Right, there were a lot of red flags, then there were the rule changes, the shorter rounds, the heavier gloves, which seemed to be designed to protect Tyson from serious injury.
But those rule changes also raised questions about the legitimacy of the fight. Was this a real boxing match, or was it more of an exhibition, a spectacle designed to entertain without causing too much damage?
That was the big question going in, and I think ultimately it's up to each individual viewer to decide how they interpret the fight and what it means for both fighters.
Let's get into what actually happened in the ring. Round 1 started with Paul using his jab and trying to keep Tyson at bay. Tyson, as expected, was looking for the knockout punch, but he seemed a bit slower than in his prime, which isn't surprising given his age.
Paul's strategy was clearly to outbox Tyson, use his youth and agility to his advantage, and avoid getting caught with a big shot. Seemed like a smart move at first.
Well, he's doing a pretty good job of it, too, landing some clean jabs and moving well, frustrating Tyson at times.
But then in round 2, everything changed.
That was a crazy moment, what happened.
Tyson landed a huge right hook that sent Paul crashing to the canvas. It was a vintage Iron Mike punch, a reminder of his incredible power. This is what everyone was afraid of.
The crowd went wild. It looked like it might be an early night for Paul.
But to his credit, Paul got back up, shook it off, and managed to survive the round. It was pretty impressive.
He's a tough kid. That knockdown seemed to light a fire under him, though he came out in round 3 with more aggression, throwing combinations and trying to press the action.
He realized that he couldn't just try to outbox Tyson. He had to engage and take some risks.
And it made for some exciting exchanges. Paul even landed a few good shots of his own, showing that he wasn't afraid to trade punches with the legend. Was this a mistake?
It's hard to say. Tyson was still the more powerful fighter, landing the harder shots and controlling the pace of the fight.
As the fight went on, you could see Paul starting to tire. Tyson's experience and ring generalship were starting to take over.
He was wearing Paul down, using his body shots and clinches to sap his energy. That experience really started to show.
And then in round 6, it happened again. Another big right hand from Tyson, and Paul went down for the second time.
This time it looked like he might not get up. He was clearly hurt.
But somehow he managed to beat the count and get back to his feet.
It was an incredible display of heart and determination. I have to give him credit for that.
So what happened in the last 2 rounds?
The final 2 rounds were a bit of a blur. Paul was exhausted, but still fighting back, trying to land a lucky punch. Tyson was clearly in control, but he didn't seem to have the killer instinct to finish the fight.
Why not go for the knockout?
It's possible he was being cautious, given Paul's young age and his own age and past injuries. He might have also been conserving energy. Remember, he's 58 years old. He was content to coast to a decision victory, picking his shots and avoiding any unnecessary risks.
And that's exactly what happened. The fight went the full 8 rounds, and the judges scored it unanimously for Mike Tyson.
It was a hard-fought victory for Tyson, a testament to his legendary chin, his punching power, and his ability to adapt his style at this stage of his career.
And for Jake Paul, even though he lost, it was a valuable learning experience. He proved that he can hang in there with a boxing legend, and he showed a lot of heart and grit. What do you think he'll do next?
It was a loss, but not a defeat. He gained valuable experience, and he'll undoubtedly learn from this fight and come back even stronger.
Wow, what a fight. Even though it wasn't the knockout fest some people were expecting, it definitely delivered on the drama.
No doubt about it.
This fight has generated more buzz than anyone could have predicted. It's the talk of the town, even among people who don't usually follow boxing.
The Paul-Tyson showdown has definitely captured the public's imagination.
Social media is exploding with reactions, memes, and hot takes. It proves that Jake Paul knows how to create a spectacle.
Win or lose.
Exactly.
He's mastered the art of capturing attention in the digital age.
But beyond the hype, what does this fight mean for the future of boxing?
That's the million-dollar question.
What are the biggest takeaways from this whole Paul Tyson showdown?
Well, it definitely highlights the blurring lines between entertainment and sport. This fight was as much about the spectacle, the personalities, and the pre-fight drama as it was about the actual boxing.
It's a trend we're seeing across so many sports these days, where entertainment value often overshadows athletic achievement.
It's like the whole world has become a reality show.
And even boxing isn't immune.
Exactly, and it makes you wonder, where does the sport end and the show begin?
That's a tough question.
That's a question a lot of people are asking.
This fight also raises questions about the role of legacy in boxing. Mike Tyson, despite his age and long layoff, was able to draw a massive audience.
And prove that his name still carries weight.
But you have to wonder, is it right to see these legends who have already given so much to the sport risk their health for our entertainment?
It's a valid concern. We need to have a serious conversation about fighter safety and the ethical implications of promoting these kinds of matchups.
Absolutely.
And this fight also underscored the power of social media in shaping the boxing landscape.
Right.
Jake Paul has built a massive following online.
Oh, yeah?
And he's used that platform to promote himself, build hype for his fights, and even challenge the traditional power structures of the sport.
He's a disruptor, for sure.
Yeah.
He's forcing the boxing world to adapt to a new era of fan engagement.
It's like he's created his own set of rules
Yeah.
and is playing a different game altogether.
He's definitely a master of self-promotion and digital marketing. He's created a blueprint for how to build a brand and a following in the 21st century.
And other athletes are taking notice.
So, big picture, what does all of this mean for the future of boxing?
The sport is at a crossroads. It's facing challenges from other combat sports like MMA.
Right.
It's struggling to attract younger audiences and grappling with issues of fighter safety, financial exploitation, and that blurring of lines between sport and entertainment we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's a pivotal moment for sure.
But there's also a sense of opportunity. The Paul Tyson fight showed that boxing can still generate massive interest and revenue, even with unconventional matchups. It also highlighted the potential for social media to connect with new fans and build excitement around the sport.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Exactly. It's a time of transition and uncertainty, but also a time of potential innovation and growth. The key will be for boxing to adapt to the changing landscape, embrace new technologies, and find ways to honor its traditions while also appealing to a new generation of fans.
The future of boxing is uncertain.
But it's definitely going to be interesting to watch it unfold.
Well said. This deep dive has been a journey, and I've learned a lot from exploring all of this with you. This whole fight is a reminder that there's always more to discover, even in a sport as seemingly straightforward as boxing.
Absolutely.
What stands out to you as the most important thing for our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
I think the biggest takeaway is that boxing is evolving. It's no longer just about two guys in a ring trying to knock each other out. It's about entertainment, personality, and social media savvy. It's a reflection of our changing culture and the way we consume sports and entertainment.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Paul Tyson showdown. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. The Two Minds Infinite Stories podcast will be available on Spotify soon. We'll be back with another deep dive into a topic that's sure to spark your curiosity.